Hey, our Pagan Opinions folks. It's sub week and it's Sunday. I am Kristen's sub Renee, and it's a free topic. So, I realize that I look like a big hot mess right now. I'm actually kind of sick, so here we have it. I'm in bed in my pajamas. I'm quite sick actually, so it's gonna be a quick video. Mainly because I'm a photographer by trade. I also, that's my trade certification, I should say. That's what I'm trained to do, but I work in a bookstore. And I was shooting a wedding last night. Two of my best friends got married to each other, so that was really cool. And I got to set up a photo booth at their wedding. So I think just like the stress and overexcitement of that, combined with like way too much sugar, has contributed to my not feeling well today. So here we are. So, what I wanted to kind of talk about was, it's sort of something that I've been seeing a lot on Tumblr, and it seems to be something that's sort of spreading between a lot of different groups online, and I think it would be really interesting to hear from what other people think and what sort of other people sort of believe about sort of that system. I'm on Tumblr and I follow a number of people on Tumblr, and a big discussion that's been coming up recently has been whether or not you can be a Wiccan if you are uninitiated. And yeah, the argument is made that basically that you cannot be a Wiccan unless you are initiated into the Gardnerian tradition. That anything else is neo-Wicca, because you're not getting the full gamut of information that obviously like Gardner and his cronies, compatriots, friends, coven mates sort of put together. Obviously any of his writings, he's not going to put everything in, you know, for the mass market to read, because I mean, what would be the point of having a coven then, right? So that is an opinion that has been kind of tossed around a lot. And I don't agree with that opinion at all. I think that perhaps back in the 50s and 60s, when when the witch cult sort of movement was becoming really, really big, perhaps to keep some secrecy and that kind of things, you couldn't just initiate any old fool off the street into your coven or group. I think that times have changed, and like any other religion or tradition, it has to evolve with it. And I think that when you these people don't even recognize other offshoots of other Wiccan groups, like Alexandrian Wicca. They don't even recognize it. They just say, you're Gardnerian or you're not Wiccan at all. I think that because when you look at, the Reformation, for example, the Christian Reformation with the Protestant Church, and when sort of Lutheranism came into existence, and sort of the inspiration that Henry VIII took from that to create the Protestant belief. Basically they were taking what they could from the Catholic Church and sort of modifying it based on what demands were. So it was accessible to everybody, more accessible to everybody that way, and it was, it made it sort of more, there was more, I guess, flavors of what was available. It's the same sort of thing with Wicca. Wicca is something that I find that, I'm not Wiccan. I did practice Wicca for a while when I first got into this sort of spiritual umbrella, but I haven't been a Wiccan in probably about like 9 or 10 years. So I'm just drawing on, like, I have a Wiccan coworker. I'm just drawing on a lot of that, plus like my own readings and research. I'm so tired, so sick. So if I seem kind of out of it, like, I apologize. Anyway, it becomes this issue of class, and the reason why I say this is because it becomes an issue of class and privilege. It's only the wealthy who live in larger cities who have the money to get initiated by somebody who is initiated by somebody who is initiated by somebody ad nauseum by Gardner, or his associates. Only those people are able to get training, and only those people are able to sort of get initiated into those groups. And anybody who lives in Podunk Land, Alabama, is not going to be able to get in their car or hop a flight and fly to like New York or Miami or a bigger city where you would have a Gardnerian base. So I think because it's become so widespread, there has to be some allowances made to grow with the times. We are an internet-based society, and there are a lot of ways. I mean, I'm talking to you right now. There are a lot of ways that people can communicate with one another and get the information that's needed without having to actually meet in person. That said, I think that there are a lot of people who claim a lot of titles that they don't deserve or they haven't earned. Like High Priestess, High Priest, those are titles that are earned through experience, through ministering and that kind of thing. They're not just random titles that you could assign yourself. I mean, I could be High Priestess Bunny Bear of the purple rose thistle coven or whatever. That coven might not actually exist. I might have just made that up to make myself seem more important and more sort of I guess accessible. And that's where you sort of run into the problem, where you get a lot of these hardcore people who are like, no. Unless you're a Gardnerian, there's no way that you're a Wiccan, because we've seen example A, B, C, and D, which are all, terrible examples of Wicca, and we don't want to be associated with that. But also, we feel like in order to keep, I guess, the craft pure, we have to be limited about who we let in. And that's all fine, that's all well and good and everything. But man, if every Christian out there could disassociate themselves from, like, the Westboro Baptist Church because they, or any sort of crazy fundamentalist because they give their particular brand of Christianity a bad name, like, you can't. This is the age. It's age of free information. You can get as much information as you need on the internet, at the library, through books, and it gives people sort of the power to be able to call themselves whatever they want, which I don't agree with, especially when it comes to, like, giving yourself titles, like I said, High Priest, High Priestess. That's an earned title. That's something you earned. Like, a priest can't just get called a priest. I mean, like, priests have to go and have, like, a degree in, divinity studies in order to, and then do training in a seminary, and, like, it's not something that is easy to come by. My Wiccan friend, who is also an Anglican reverend, has a degree and is actually recognized as an Anglican reverend in our local area. She can perform marriages. She can, she can preach if she wants to, whatever the case is. I mean, she's Wiccan now, but, that was a title that was hard earned. Like, that she had to go to school, and then she had to do all the training, and she had to, it's not something that's really easy to come by. But I think that anybody can call themselves a Wiccan if they are drawing from the Wiccan teachings, and they are drawing from the inspiration of what Gardner was trying to say. If you're reading all of these sort of original works, and you're educating yourself about how that system works, yes, I think you can totally call yourself a Wiccan the same way that anybody who believes that Christ is the Savior can call themselves a Christian. Can you call yourself a Gardnerian Wiccan? No. Can you call yourself a High Priest or High Priestess? No. Those are earned titles. That's a specific path. You can't just randomly call yourself whatever you want because it sounds cool. Like, people are eventually going to clue in and be like, I don't know about that. So I think that it's important to recognize that that the reason why a lot of people call themselves Wiccan or use whatever term they need to use is because they have nothing else to call it, and they can't necessarily get and be trained by somebody. They can't necessarily connect with people in their local area. I don't know, maybe they have maybe they're a shut-in, so to speak, or, you know, maybe they're mobility challenged and can't necessarily get out to do whatever they need to do. Maybe they're agoraphobic. Maybe they have a whole list of things that prevent them from doing what is needed to actually go out and be part of a coven. Should we discriminate against those people? No, we should definitely not discriminate against those people. But I really think it's important to recognize, if you're going to be calling yourself something, you should recognize where the tradition is coming from, and you should recognize where all of the history is. You should be reading Gardner, you should be reading Dorian Valente, you should be reading Alex Sanders, you should be reading Robert Cochrane, you should be reading, there's a lot of books that you should be reading before you even pick up the Silver Raven Wolf, before you pick up the Cunningham, you know, the Ellen Dugan. Like, there's a lot of things that you need to know about the actual path before you can just be like, no, law of three, that's it, da 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 da. There's a whole host of other things. Wicca is a very intense path. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of ritual and a lot of devotion and that sort of thing. And it's not in any way, shape, or form an easy way to do anything. It's not an easy path. And I think that it gets a bad name because you get a lot of people who start out reading Ravenwolf or Cunningham and then don't do anything else. They don't look at the history of things. This is what you should be drawing from. If you're calling yourself a Wiccan, know where you're coming from. You know, you can't call yourself a Canadian or an American unless you're either born into it or you've done the citizenship test and are sworn in. You need to do the homework. You need to either be born into it or do your homework, one or the other. So that is all for me. All of my follow information is below as per usual. Thanks for listening, and I'm really sorry that this is not a higher quality video, but really I'm waiting for my tea to steep so that I can just like veg and do nothing. Because it's just bleh. I mean, it's October and I'm wearing like friggin' like pajamas, like with snowflakes on them. I mean, granted, Frankenstorm is on its way. Like, there's a hurricane that also might be a snowstorm. It might also be like a nor'easter. Like, that's going to be coming our way very, very shortly. Whatever. I'm prepared, but I'm also not feeling well, so I apologize for the quality of the video, but I'm assuming next week everything is back to normal and you'll have your regular hosts. So for the tail end of Subs Week, thanks guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Ciao.